Today we have GWFM's regular masterclass on best practices showcase, and we're going to talk about Wipro's best practices where they're successfully following the gig talent and gig workforce modeling. Today we have a very eminent speaker, Pushpita Das. She has been now heading the gig platform in Wipro. Prior to Wipro, Pushpita has worked in Cognizant. Pushpita comes from technical background. She's an IITian and also done her master's in IM and few of other degrees from global US universities. With this, I take this opportunity to invite you to be part of this masterclass sessions. Thank you so much for taking your time out and welcome all the audience who have joined in from all over the world to listen to this session. Please join me welcoming Pushpita Das, head of Top Gear Gig Platform at Wipro.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity, Dr. Shiva, and thanks everybody who has joined. I know the world is only changing, and the change is the only constant in this world. And so every day we get into a lot of things, and without even knowing that become like part of us. So gig is such a thing. While we'll talk about gig workforce in IT industry today, but gig is everywhere. If you really look at how you travel today, vis-a-vis how we were traveling 20 years back, we didn't have Uber, we didn't have Ola to travel. And today, most of the people say, why to even buy a car if I don't need? A car will suddenly become a status symbol. Similarly, everywhere, I mean, be it our food platform, food delivery platform, be it our travel platform, be it doing household small fixes, like we have urban clubs. So gig is everywhere, whether we have realized or not. We'll put our discussion only on the gig and the IT and what we are doing at Wipro, and I'll take questions. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So with that, we'll move to a little bit on some research, which NASCOM did a great research. So Dr. Shiba, if you can bring the slide.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Yes. So you can see this, this is whatever I put here is actually, it's a NASCOM report. I've given the link in the slide. You can yourself, and it's there in the public domain, you can find out, but it is a very nice research which is little dated. It was done in 2022, just when the COVID was the exit way. But global gig industry, you can see it's like 500 billion, and gig jobs by 25, which is a year away, is 350. In fact, the current gig workforce, what is mentioned in this slide, if you can see it, is actually 7.7 million. This was back in 2021 when NASCOM did a research, and I didn't get a updated report, so I just kept that. And what they think is it's going to explode to almost 24 million by 2029, 30. Everything will become gig. And in the gig itself, we'll have segments. So if I'll give you an example, how it will have different. We'll have in the gig itself, we'll have differentiation. I'll give a real life example. You must be seeing the quick commerce platforms, what we have today, where you have 10 minutes delivery. So earlier, maybe 3-4 years back, we had delivery, which is slotted delivery, meaning it will come to you in a particular slot, and the grocery delivery. But we have moved to now quick commerce, and everything is available in quick commerce. So that's where we are moving. Now, coming back to our industry, in the IT industry, yes, things are evolving. It is a very big shift in mindset, and thanks to the pandemic, so that has taught us that everything and anything is possible. We thought we cannot work outside ODC; there would be so many issues, but then overnight we had to be all homebound, sit in our home and had to deliver work. So that is what the shift has brought. And you can see that people started working remotely and they can deliver from anywhere, anytime. And in fact, they deliver more productivity. And that's what unknowingly or knowingly, this was a gig which was happening in the background, right? Coming back, what are the top gigable roles? Of course, AI is a one which I've not mentioned. I've just taken it from the report, what NASCOM said 2 years back. So you can see if you look at the IT industry, these are the AI, ML, UI, UX design, digital marketing, but this is not limited to this. These are the top gigable roles which can be done. By the gig, as a definition, it means anything which is short term. So anyone who is doing a short term role, or you have a task which is very short term, is called gig. That's how the definition. If you go and search in Google, that's what you'll find. The distribution, workforce distribution, you can see tier 2 cities are catching up, right? While we have tier 1, why we have more tier 1? Because by design, we have more people in tier 1 cities. But now we know that even for full-time work, we are moving to tier 2. Our tier 1 cities are clogged. We are trying to move away. For one is the cities are exploding. Two is because of the pandemic, many people went back to their home location and they are very comfortable. They don't want to come back. So that's where they are also driving. So it's like consumer driving the market, right? With this, we'll go to the second slide. Yes. So this is also from the NASCOM report. In fact, it's a beautiful report. I've just taken two things which is very, very pertinent here or relatable. So if you see, gig workforce is definitely key lever in our tech growth history. And because of the gig workforce, we have the lowest demand supply gap. So that's where the India is having an edge. And that's why it is really moving very fast. And why we are having less gap is because we are always churning, meaning we are bringing a lot of freshers. We are every company goes and hires a lot of freshers, right? Then we are increasing hiring in tier 2 cities, and we are also increasing gig hiring. Now there might be a question that, okay, I mean, by gig, do we mean only the contractors? The answer is no. Contractors you are hiring for a short term, yes, for 3 months, but they're like in your project or in your work for the full 3 months, 6 months, whatever the time period is. Gig is like you are rotating 10 days in one work, then it can move to the person can do multiple work at one particular time, meaning dividing the hours like say 9 hours, 3 hours in one project, 3 hours in another project. That's where what I mean by gig. So there is nothing more I can add here. It's all the report, the insights from NASCOM, which I thought of bringing in. And you can see that gig, we will see later in couple of slides later, we'll see that how gig is also helping to increase our diversity and inclusion. And every company, every IT company is having one or other program to bring back, like it's like begin again we have, and then rehiring the talent which has taken a break, which is mostly the women employees who take a break because of maternity leave, and then how do we rehire them? So their gig is playing a very big role. Now I'm coming to Wipro, what we do. So in Wipro, we definitely we started gig much ahead. And Wipro had acquired Topcoder in 2017, which is a gig platform, external gig platform. So today what we have is, for external, we have Topcoder. And in fact, the Topcoder is the platform, which is the backbone, the challenge engine, which Top Gear uses. So for internal gig, what I mean by internal gig is all our employees. All our employees, all our Wipro associates globally we call them as our internal community or gig. So when it comes to internal employees, we use Top Gear. And Top Gear, I mean, the way I will describe is it's not different than Topcoder. Top Gear is instance, you can say, of Topcoder. We use a lot of APIs from Topcoder to run this platform. Plus, we have Wipro-centric customization, as anyone would do. Whenever you buy any product, then you do the customization for the company, right? Topcoder, we have 2 million plus members. In fact, while it is huge, members are there which are available as freelancers, can be brought in within 2 to 3 days time. In fact, we are modernizing our Topcoder platform itself. We are bringing in a lot of things. So is Top Gear going side by side. So that's what is happening. As I said, change is the only constant we are doing. while we are doing all these changes to make sure that we are at the cutting edge, we are cutting edge of the technology, we do the latest things. What it means for us is whenever there is a talent crunch and it is gigable, we have two options. I'll talk more on internal gig today because external gig is like you have a work and you just get a. We have a model called talent as a service, and we can bring people for staff of requirements. We use top quota, but I'll speak more on top gear, which is more employee centric, and how you can how what we can do to make sure that both the employer and the employee wins, and what we're doing at Wipro. So that will be my thrust today. With that, I'll move to the next slide, please, Dr. Shiva. Yes, so I want to spend some time here to just to say that what we are doing and what is a business need and what is a Wipro solution. So if there is today business needs outcome-based delivery, we all know that. I mean, though it might be saying the customer wants to see the person in front of them, but everybody is more keen to the outcome-based delivery. So because that's very convenient for the customer, and it's like you deliver a milestone, you deliver a particular component, doesn't matter who's working, how many people are working, and all our fixed price models or managed service contracts are like that. So if you have such a requirement, if this is a business need, what we do is with the Wipro solution, we'll have a core flex, right? Generally, it's a very normal thing. We'll have core flex model everywhere. So the flex comes from the gig. Okay, so you have a core team to do your delivery, and then you don't load everybody into the core team. You get the flex through the gig model. Now, what happens actually in this type of when the employee is part of the gig model? If you think of a big organization like Wipro, everyone is not super busy at the same instance, right? Everyone would have ups and downs as per the project timelines. And because of the hybrid working model, the commute time is also saved. Like every day, people are not coming to office. So that way, everyone has some time in their hand in in a day, maybe 2 to 3 hours, which they can spend on something else, which could be a learning activity, which could be doing something, some other project or a new technology project. So that is what we call as gig, or it is a partial time we utilize as a gig model. And we have our platform, beautiful platform, where we do everything, and it's all automated. We can figure out, we have our own ways to figure out who would be available, what time and how long, all that we do. And that is what I meant by bringing the flex. So you have a core team, you load the flex, you don't load the flex team totally. That's where you do the outcome-based delivery. If you have an end-to-end project delivery and you think, okay, this is a short project, a 1 month project, I do not want to again build a team, because if you're building a team, be it internal resourcing or external resourcing, it takes time, right? So you get into a hybrid sourcing model where you are basically building the blocks. You are bringing the program manager, you are bringing 1 or 2 full-time resources, you are bringing part-time gigs. That becomes a team, and they go and deliver for a short-term project. So even through gig model, this is how we will deliver a short-term project, and that's what we do. Then coming to competition model, where you want to launch a hackathon or ideathon. Competition is very healthy. We all know. I mean, if you have a competition, it's a healthy one. People go and try to win, and then there's a lot of participation. So you are engaging the employee base. You are bringing a best innovative solution. It's a win-win for all, and you are also rewarding the talent, right? So if that is a business need, our top tier platform, gig platform, we have a competition model where we conduct a hackathon or ideathon, and it can be different for different needs. For example, we are launching a hackathon we want to get a best solution. Why do we like to have a best solution? So Wipro also creates a lot of assets, a lot of IP, products, right? That is where you would go and you want to figure out what is the best solution people are saying. So you do a Wipro, or you want to have a competition with a big customer, you have say 2,000 people, you want to do a hackathon. That also there. And ideathon, just like Dr. Shiva was talking in the beginning, that's a hackathon launching in GWFM just to figure out the best practice. So I need not elaborate on this. That is possible through this platform. Then if the need is staff augmentation, that is where we have a model called talented service, and where we actually involve top coder, external gigs for full time, which they basically earn their living by working as a freelancer, and we get them. And if you have 2 million gigs subscribed, you can understand it is easy. Within 3 to 4 days, people can be onboarded to customer, and the customer gets a flexible staffing duration. So it's not that, okay, the person has to work for 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. This is no strings attached kind of a thing. And that's how it works. So that's on the gig delivery models, different business needs, and how Wipro is giving the solution for or managing the solutions for different business needs. And I just touch upon how it works, okay, on the ground is. The scope is definitely carved out first. Okay, this is my scope. Now, please understand, if you don't know what exactly will be getting to go through the gigs, then it's a big problem. So that's why the scope is carved out only for the gig, I'm saying. So you have the total scope and you say 20% of the work, for example, all the UI UX design I'll do through the gig model. I don't need to put a person for that. That could be a requirement. So that's a scope definition. Then we have something called community identification. So what it means is our all employees are there, but depending on what skill, when we are needing, how long is the engagement, that is a method by which we do a community identification. In fact, we have our own AI model to figure out who would suit best, ranking and things like that. So that's where we do identification. So the beauty is when you are doing this, you are actually bidding. You are saying, hey, this is a work available. This must be the reward. Are you game for this? Just like in a flight, bidding, the tickets bidding happens. You go and somebody will bid, and the person gets whoever bids highest, right? Something like that. So all the employees who are in the same skill pattern will bid for the work, and then we have different steps to shortlist and identify who's the best person. Then the engagement happens, and atomization is basically nothing but dividing the tasks. In a normal project, when you're running a project, how will you do a MPP or Microsoft project plan? You will divide the task. One is a person, Mr. X, task 2 is Mr. Y, like that, you will do that. So that's what atomization means. Here also, suppose 3-4 members are there, then who will be doing what piece? It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and they will integrate later. Execution is nothing but the product is being built or the testing is being done or whatever it is, and then finally delivery happens. Looks very simple, but this is at a macro level what happens. And of course, when the execution happens, you get into other things and you sort that out. What are the benefits? I want to talk about the benefits. For customers, definitely, value-based delivery. And for example, I'll give an example. It's a Christmas time. The demand or the requirements or changing something becomes very high, or it's a high volume, some 5 people extra needed for monitoring the platform. There are things like that. So that's the customer value proposition. You reduce time to market. For example, something, say customer A as competitor has launched they have launched some specific or some new feature, and the customer A need to also launch something so that they don't lose out on the market. So quickly they need to do that. So speed of delivery comes in. And all the hard or niche skills, whatever you have, say for example, the customer is a Java shop and suddenly we need some SAP, and that SAP requirement is only for say, a month or 2. So you don't need to go and again onboard somebody. And what customers love it is it's not only their account or their people who are working dedicatedly for them, they have access to the entire talent pool. That's what the customer value proposition is, which I mentioned, access to common talent pool. Spikes in the workload we just spoke, holiday time or any other of that sort. And then, taking the Sun model, say you need 5 more people to monitor, or you need the particular screen to be developed very quickly, or if there is something, some high ticket volume that has to be taken care of, things like that. And idea generation is something definitely, because you are tapping into not only the 1,000 people who are on your account or on your role to take care of the customer, but you have the entire pool, and who knows, the best idea will come from which corner. For employees, definitely this is a very big win-win, I will say. Why? One is they are constantly honing their skills. A Java guy is getting to know different, even if it's a Java work in another project, that getting to know different nuances, getting to exchange the best practices, things like that. And many times people get skilled, they would have got trained. They are experienced people, but they have got trained on a new technology. Now, this gig work is the best way to do a hands-on on the new technology, what they have acquired. And this goes a long way. Of course, there is an earning angle because there is a reward mechanism. They're building their own brand in the sense they're known to more people across the organization. So building their own brand, for example, architect, the architect is just not stuck in the one project and helping, say, 5 customers. Definitely, that's like building their own brand. The best part is you don't have to tell the employee that you have to upskill to be relevant. They will do themselves. That's a self motivation, because if they're not, then their bidding will come low. I mean, they won't be picked up for this work. So works very good for the employees. For the employer or the organization, definitely meeting business requirement. Employee engagement is a very big thing, and today I know a lot of articles, a lot of discussions we see in social media, that how do we do the employee engagement, especially when they're in hybrid mode. There in COVID time, people didn't even see the office, right? People are changing jobs, but they were all in their homes. So and that is where we are saying people come to office, and all these drives have started. But this is a great way to do employee engagement, because you are bringing 2 people from 2 different places and 2 different accounts who are meeting in their off or voluntarily off hours, and they're working together. So goes a long way for employee engagement. Project can start in time. You are done 90% resourcing just for 2 people. You're not able to start. That doesn't happen. Of course, cost is low because then you are not fully loading. Helps in even building diversity and inclusion. Why I wanted to put this point is, when you are in the gig way, you can bring not only the moms, I mean, new mothers who have taken a break, or maybe 2 years, 3 years, that people have, the ladies have taken a break and they have to come back. You can also get the experienced people who have retired, because it doesn't stop there. You are just bringing them for the short term requirement, your gig work, and you imagine the perks of getting a very experienced person who doesn't, I mean, who is retired, doesn't want to work 10 hours a day, but can give the expertise in 3 hours a day. So it builds a big culture of inclusion, and where you get the veterans, you also get the other gender, and why only mothers? I mean, there could be single fathers who probably would have taken a break, and that's where your diversity and inclusion, it helps, kind of as a consequence or underlying. Employee rotations do happen. I know this is a very sticky topic in every organization. People do face challenges because of the employee is known to the customer. I mean, there's a stickiness, and if the rotation happens, everybody is a little nervous. But this helps because the employee is working in 2, 3, not only the own core work, but other work. And when they're also in the bench, when they're rotating, they're getting sneak peek to different allocations, or I'll say the different customers, where they're tested. I mean, see, I'm on the bench, I got a chance to work on the gig, and if that work is good, say I'm doing a proof of concept and work is good, I get uh, I get taken to the account. So there are a lot of benefits for the organizations too. Put common gig use cases, there are many. I'll just take out, maybe I'll talk about, of course, Gen AI is a big thing. Now, I'll just give you a simplicity that we know the environment is a very big topic everywhere in the world. We know that the world is only, the space is constant, the air is constant, the water is constant. So what do? We have to make sure that we reuse and reuse, right? Same thing. Today, Gen AI is a big thing, but the AI talent scarcity is there. So the best thing to use them is in a gig way in multiple places, right? So that's where the Gen AI and um, any AI case study case or work you want to do, it's a good use case for gig, and that's what we are doing. Development, be it any development, as we said, core flex model, small snippets development, anything can happen. UI UX design we have spoken, and even architecture review. Now, when you are in the requirement phase, you are designing the architecture or something, getting a reviewer, even if you have an architect, getting a different point of view is always welcome, and that can help. In AMS project is basically, I'm talking about the maintenance projects where you do support and maintenance. While you can do P1, P tickets because you would have a SLA timeline, but if you have a big backlog to reduce, you are documenting. I mean, I know people have core people, and then who does the documentation? That becomes a very sticky affair. Works very well with a gig workforce. Idea generation, we have spoken. Technical writing, that's something very, very rarely people need. Okay, I need a technical writer, but you won't get a technical writer just like that. And good use case for to be go through gig way. Solution development, I was saying that, if your internal products you're developing, or you have to maintain an internal product, whatever developed for Wipro, for example, we have some products which we need to enhance or we have to give solutions, go in the gig way. Testing, I think crowd testing is something which is there for last so many years. So say you are developing a new feature, what do you do? How do you find the bugs? Just give it to the crowd. And this was happening out open. I'm not talking about in a company. So testing is a very nice use case, very commonly used. So these are some of the common use cases. There are many more what we have and what we do. I just thought of putting the common ones so that it resonates with everybody. Okay, we'll move to the next slide, probably my last one. Okay, changing to the gig mindset. Suppose we think, okay, we need to move to a gig model. We need to imbibe the gig model. The first thing I would say is what we need to do. Think about it. What is the driver to move the gig delivery model? Otherwise, it will not work. So, is it like I want to increase my utilization? Is it like I want to increase my employee engagement? Or is it like I want to have a value proposition? That's something any organization people taking should be very clear about and then move to the gig. Now, while doing that, I think that the biggest hurdle I would say is the mindset change. Other than anything, that this is a framework, this is a model, this is how I'll do. But before that, they say I think culture eats strategy for breakfast. So the mindset or the culture change is the first thing which one has to do. Any organization is trying to do is before moving to gig mindset. First is you have to come out of, anyone who's thinking of gig has to come out of FTE based. Okay, I need the person full time, should be there, only mine, cannot be shared. That mindset to the outcome based. I mean, that's what the transition has to be. And time bound, meaning 9 hours you are in office, you must be there 9 hours, you should swipe your card for 9 hours, and that's how we'll build the customer or we'll do the work to milestone, just like what we do in a fixed price projects or managed service project, where you're just worried about, okay, by this date this should be done, am I there or not? ODCs, we have seen it. We were boundaryless during the COVID time, so gig is always anywhere, and it is location agnostic. You don't worry about from where you're getting the best talent. It could be Mars, it could be Manali. That's what I fondly call it in Wipro. Your work should be done. Doesn't matter from where we are getting the person. And then this experience band, this myth of that I am having 10 years of experience. I think we have already started moving, the whole world is started moving to skill as a currency. And this is something we definitely practice, preach in Wipro. We can't say that I need a person which is like 5 years experience. Basically, it is skill. What the you are trying to do, your requirement is fix a Python code or write a sanity routine on Python. The person who is very hands-on on the Python would matter, the skill would matter, not that somebody has done 5 years or something like that. Okay. And in a typical IT project, what we think is, okay, let me onboard everybody, let me get 10 people, and then I'll sit down and plan what they will do. And that doesn't work for a gig. One has to actually do the planning first and say that this is my, as I said, the scope has to be carved out, and this is what I will be doing through the gig, and then I go on board. Because in gig, there is nothing called idle time, and no one gets rewarded for the idle time. So gig is like you come, you deliver, pass, and then you get your reward and move away. That's how one has to have the change in mindset. And before that, what is my driver? Why am I trying to do a gig delivery model? What is that I'm trying to solve? As I said before, and that actually will tell or tweak your policies, will come out with a framework how what I should do, and what kind of restrictions I'll put it, what kind of compliance norms I'll put in. Everything will come around that, because it is our own employees. If I'm talking about internal gig, that's where we are working. So you have a lot of benefits in the terms of this is your employee, they follow all the company norms. They have their company lab provided laptops. So security labs and other things are very, very less, because finally they're the employees. But at the same time, you have to have compliance norms saying what will work and what should be the boundary and how I should run the show. And that's why this driver is a very critical question we should be asking. I think that's all I had. Can we move to the next slide? Probably the last slide, that is. Yes. Thank you so much for patient hearing, and I've been the monologue. Dr. Shiva, if we can take now the questions.
There are two questions which have come.
Yeah.
Can you see them?
Yeah. I think there are two questions out here. Probably.
Yeah, I can see that.
Ramchandra Srinivasan has asked two questions. Yeah.
Okay. So how the company market, how it was able to convince them, would you please able to suggest a comprehensive link course? I think GWFM would be having some course. I won't be able to give any course that how the Ola and I mean the Ola Swiggy what they did. But all I can say is, as I said, the mindset. Once we are very clear that why we are doing the gig, then and you just have some limitations, do's and don'ts, and then you can do. How would you go and convince people if that is your question? Ramchandran, I think he has raised his hand also. Do you want him to open up and speak, Dr. Shiva?
Yeah, sure. And Ram, thanks for asking questions. We have the course. We have the gig talent modeling course. Probably I'll talk to you offline after the session. And great to have you on Wise One. Let me locate you. Now we can ask questions, Ram.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shiva, for first of all inviting me to this forum. It's great, actually. And okay, so my question is fundamentally, see, I've always been curious, how this gig works, in the sense that it's not just Ola or Rapido or anything, but fundamentally, how I mean, even to get a client or someone to work, it's very tough. But I've always been, in fascination that a company like, say, Swiggy or Ola or Rapido or even an LIC agent, so how they are able to actually market their own themselves so much that so many people actually want it, and of course it's want to work for them in a gig manner, so I'm just curious to know how exactly the process works from end to end, in the sense how the concept of, say, Swiggy or Ola was just an example that I gave. Say, for instance, if I have to float a company, just a random example, say I want to float a company which is, say, delivering some goods, like say Dunzo, from one place to another or something like that. So what exactly would I do to actually market it to people? Of course, I know that Swiggy also, or anyone has become a Swiggy captain or something like that is there. But in general, how these actually, that end-to-end life cycle of an entire gig cycle, it is not the same as what we do in hiring. Let's say we go to campus and we recruit them for full FTE, and so many things are there. But in this is at least a distinctly different thing. So I was just curious to know how exactly these things work, and if there be any content or where I can learn about it. Now that Shiva has told that there is something. So I'll be curious, but just wanted to check if because of my curiosity, it was not related to any particular company or anything.
Yeah, so Shiva, I'm sorry, Shiva will help you, but I can tell you the other part, just like Upwork or freelancer. For example, I was seeing freelancer has 61 million people who are registered because that is a lot of work and there's a demand and there's a supply. So people are going and they want to work in the flexible hours, and definitely the perks, if you're a full-time freelancer and you are an Upwork platform freelancer or freelancer or Upwork, will be much more than what you would have got as a full-time employee. That's I'm talking about external freelancers. If you talk about the employees, suppose I want to do an internal gig, which I was talking more from a Wipro standpoint, what attracts them is two things. Number one, their ability to go and work on a different technology without changing the project or core work. Number one. Number two is definitely there is a good reward. So that is the augmentation of the income. So these are the two drivers what attracts people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And I was a person who asked the second question. I also have a third question, but if you're done, maybe I can just verbally ask you quickly.
Second question. Let me see what you've asked. Does not complete the task, can they be penalized? Okay.
I mean, fundamentally, I was just referring to the risk that that is posed. Like, for example, if I have an order an Ola or a Rapido, right? They will accept it, and at the last minute they will cancel it, and it has happened to me so many times, But so I mean, there is a risk actually. So just wanted to check if how exactly it works and so on. I mean that.
Yeah. Definitely there is a risk. Now then, how the risk is mitigated is like this. At Wipro, what happens is if you are leaving something midway, we have a rating mechanism. Just like, you have the rating mechanism there in Ola, Uber, right? The driver rates you, you also rate the driver, right? There is a rating mechanism. Now, people who does this kind of, people leave midway, they will be rated low, and next time in the bidding work comes, they are not the ones who's ranking high. So no one wants to do that because this is a constant stream of work where they want to be part of it, and no one wants to do that. That's how we have put it in the check. This is a risk. In fact, this is the same risk as your FT. Suppose tomorrow you don't know what happens to the person. There's an emergency at home. The person can go on extended leave. Things can happen. But here, what is driving people not to do that is because of their rating will go down. That's how we have worked out.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. Thanks. And I just have the third question.
Go ahead.
Can I? Okay, so you mentioned about the internal gig. I don't know the concept of an internal gig because I mean, see, all I know is gig is like all the external companies that I was talking about. I mean, if you can just let me know what an internal gig is, probably I think that's the last question for me.
That our own employees, your company, say Wipro's own employees has worked as a gig when they would take up work on voluntary basis. Maybe they want to work on the weekend or they want to express their day. That is what it means.
Okay, thanks. It clarifies. Thank you so much, Pushpita, and thank you so much, Shiva.
Okay.
Welcome, Rob. Yeah.
I'll connect with you one question from my side.
Yes.
One question from my side. What are the lessons that Wipro has learned from integrating gig workers that probably could benefit the people who are listening?
Definitely, it's a big employee value proposition for all the employees, because I'll just give you some examples. Like, as I said, a very recent example, because there are a lot of people who work. So the person said, hey, I knew cloud world, but I never got a chance. And this gave me a chance. So it is very much employee centric, and it is out there. There's a excitement of bidding for the work. It's like I'm bidding, I may get selected, and there's the excitement of, okay, I'm honing my skill. And also for the senior people who probably had left coding 5-6 years back, they would like to get engaged. They say this keeps me honest, this keeps me hands-on, because today, if you don't have the skill, you are not there, you are no more relevant. So there's nothing called I become a project manager, so I don't need to look at the code, nothing of that sort. That's what has helped. And it has, of course, helped that challenge of very short term demands. How do we do? There is a for example, the holiday season, definitely it goes up, and we get a lot of testing requirements saying that there's a new feature coming and how quickly we can test. So that's how, from the customer side, it has helped.
Now, there are companies which are still very hesitant to adopt a gig workforce, right? Now, what is the advice?
My advice will be on a lighter note.
Yeah.
Partho, is read the Nokia and BlackBerry case studies. People who are
Right.
hesitant on smartphones. Nokia thought smartphone will never come. Today they don't exist. Blockbuster thought that Netflix will not happen. So that would be my advice.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thanks, Partho. So we have a next question from Jitendra Gupta. What are the anticipated risks of gig workforce?
Okay, if you're talking about external gig workforce, definitely there will be always a risk of security breach. And the person, one has to be extra careful if you're bringing an external, just like if you bring in a contractor. So external person can suddenly, the breaking away from the work is higher. That is a risk if you're bringing a full time. But we have the way you can mitigate that risk is you give their employee, onboard the employee and give a company laptop. So that's how we manage. We give a company laptop and we have a short term science, NDA and things like that. In fact, all our employees who internally work as a gig also sign a digital NDA. So that's part of the execution. It's a big animal, how we manage and what we do. Internal, I don't see that a lot of risk other than what can happen is if you, it happens many a times, like you have anticipated the work, you have onboarded the person, and the work doesn't come in that time. So then people don't wait, and the ideal time is what is the cancer here. That you have the risk of losing the person. That because the resource is saying, hey, my time is now, I am available for next 2 to 3 weeks, I need work, so give me work. Other than that, there are no other risks. Of course, you have to take care of other contractual obligations, which we do. I mean, running a gig is not that simple as I just presented. There are a lot of background things gets in. We look at a lot of contracts because all the contractual obligations are digitized in Wipro. We check a lot of things before we onboard the person so that we ensure that we are not deviating any of the contractual norms what we have of the customer, because customer centricity is the biggest thing for us. So you need to take care of small things like this. For example, I'm sure you have some competitive clause. Every company would have who have customers. So you have to ensure when you are giving the FTE also, you have to ensure that you are not breaching that clause. For example, you have hired a person, say from American Express, I'm just making it up, and this person should not go to Bank of America, for example. You need to make sure that that doesn't happen. I mean, even if you bring the person, maybe there's a cooling off period or something like that. Those things one has to be very mindful. It's not that, okay, hello, there's a work, please come and wait. It doesn't work that way. I hope I answered your question.
Hope so. And more of the question, Vidya has a question. How is billable to the client is done?
Yes.
For gig, how does costing work if they work in more than 2 projects? And who will handle their performance appraisal, or how is the trailing performance is met
Okay.
the projects?
Yeah, so billing to customer is very simple as you would build an outcome. How will you bill an outcome, right? It is like FPP, right? You would say that this is the outcome. You would have estimated, say, 20 hours of work. So you are billing 20 hours of work. You're not billing the person. You are billing the outcome. So that's how the billing is taken care. Costing work, as we said, in the gig model, it depends on how you want to do it. So first question is why I want to do gig. Do I have to do a, again for 10 days I want to make 20% here, 80% there. Do I have to do that, or I just leave it that way? So in Wipro, we don't have a costing division. We have something called reward. So we are giving reward to the employee for, because the work is voluntary. I'm not asking the employee that you have to come and work. So there's a very big difference. It's not that I'm saying you have to stretch your day. No, the person is working 9 hours or whatever in the core project and doing the rest of the time on the holiday or freelance, 3 hours or weekend they're working. So the costing part is only the reward what the get person earns, which is much, much more less than the if you would have onboarded the person. Performance appraisals, yes, their work. I mean, depends on the system, what system you have in your company. The work which is there in your platform, and the data gets fits in. So how you want to use the data is up to the company policy and the HR what they want to do.
And Prishwata, you meant to say that, for example, five gig resources come in and they perform, and then you do rate them, maybe you give them a star rating, or so that
For the
if
work
they're
they do,
invited again, maybe the next
this
project.
yeah, this rating is not the appraisal rating. This rating is on that piece of work, just like the Uber ride. I take the
Right.
Uber ride, I rate 5 for the driver. That
Right.
rating, and then that is how the rank comes for them in the platform. Okay, this guy has done much more work, okay, than the other one. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, to understand Vidya's question, how is it costing compared to FTE versus gig? I'm talking about external gig, internal gig, the rate.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference, on an average? For example, like I get a full stack Java developer from, you have FT already, and
Mm-hmm.
where you get a full stack, another full stack Java developer or probably .NET or tester from outside, right? He or she is not employee of Wipro, and you get them externally. What is the billing price?
No, if you get a full-time freelancer, it will be little higher than what you have, in the sense what you can see, because you are not taking into account the PPF or the bonus or whatever you give. You don't give those things to the freelancer, right? So if you really compare just in time, they will be little higher side. And depending on the geography, India will be lower side versus vis-a-vis if you're getting somebody from US. But then please understand, you don't have any strings attached. You are just getting the person for 30 days, and the person is working whatever it has to deliver, and you are just giving that whatever uh, rate card you have, you are giving that person. So it will be a little higher side. But then, given that you are not have to take the other costs, the onboarding cost, or there's a bonus, there is other things, other perks what you give as an employer, it will probably be less than if you think of a long-term perspective.
Right. Thanks. I hope Vidya's questions are answered, and you can raise your hand, Vidya, if you want to ask any questions. So now we move on to the next question. Jitendra Gupta has asked another question. Have you tried the gig model successfully in contact center environment, call center BPO environment?
BPO, we have, if you're asking for Wipro, it's not for the caller, where you interact and the shift, not for that. But to do a research, for example, sometimes you have a product, you want to do a research that what is the alternative I have, that kind of thing. Or you want to automate something, definitely. Automation is a very big use case for any gig work. There we have tried. We have helped.
Absolutely. I think, some of the roles that, we identify, that which role would definitely be identified as a gig to replace.
Yes.
And probably leverage accordingly. I think Jitendra, like a lot of companies already started doing that in US and other places. Even for contact centers. You see that a few of other stories, even so, first sources started doing it for the agent level and also quality and at the delivery level. And it's any industry, definitely gig is the future of talent. Can be explored. You could probably test with a pilot with any of the project in your company. You can. So I mean,
Uh,
you see that what mistakes that would happen and how you can really overcome,
okay.
and how gig solution. Getting gig is like just in time. Yeah, hire to train and then onboard, right? And you'll be able to onboard someone in 48 hours, or probably in a maximum within a week, compared to hiring someone full time, and would take more than a month time to onboard and complete all the formalities. Ultimately you will have the uh, cost saving, and second thing that you'll be able to build the resource timely to the client, where organization makes money from day one. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, and for contact center, another thing, suppose you want to look at your dashboard, you want to build a dashboard, and you don't have people who to build a dashboard because you just have people who are already doing the tickets, and you just bring, and you don't need those dashboard people forever, right? So you just bring in a week's time, you get your dashboard done, and then you are probably take one person saying that whenever there is a work, I'll take the person and then he or she will fix it. Works very well. This works also in P3 P4 ticket kind of environment where you don't have to load the person. Say that you have 20 technologies to support and you don't need 20 technology people. You don't need, because in a month you probably get 2 tickets. Why to load 20 people? So you keep your, where they hire tickets, you keep only 5 people and rest you do through week. So that's also one of the good things.
Absolutely. And it really helps. For example, like big billion day or Black Friday, kind of
Yeah.
where, for example, like, the Flipkart or Amazon, right? They need resources, especially like when Christmas season comes, a New Year,
Yeah.
or any season time comes in, they need more resources. So, I mean, gig is the talent, with a great solution, they can really have, multiple roles. And as Pushpita mentioned, regular roles where you can get reporters, and also the someone who makes reporting dashboards, or already you got to identify the roles, and then especially it helps
In
in
fact,
season time.
yeah, in fact, I think the Gen Z, who is not I mean, they're not ready to get tied to one company.
True.
Maybe 5 years down the line, maybe 10 years down the line, we'll see one person working Mondays like Infosys and Tuesdays like Wipro, one laptop, 5 companies. That can also, we can see, because they don't want to get tied down to one thing, and the best talent can move up and work as a freelancer. And now people are saying, I need more happiness, flexibility, all that things. So
Absolutely. I mean, to engage the millennials and Gen Z
yes,
resources, gig is the future of talent. The
yes,
organization should really, I think, now everyone has started looking at gig is kind of,
sure,
our talent solution.
yeah,
And I think that'll evolve.
yes.
Thanks, Jitendra. If you have any questions, please rise. And Asan Ali has a question. Is there any metrics related to gig workforce management, and is based on an output in terms of numbers that will help manage to deploy the resources in the organization?
I'm not sure if I understood this question, but I request Hassan to read the report. I have given the link, the NASCOM report. I think you'll get a lot of numbers. It will tell you how organizations are moving, what are the limitations, and what are the different challenges one can face. It's a very nice report. It's a big 25 page report. I'll ask you to refer there, and I hope it can answer your questions. Hassan?
Yeah. And Asan, you can certainly, there's a metrics where organization would have some percentage of gig or contractors or full time. That metrics will be there, and also need pricing. Could look at that, and also good thing that if you identify gig demands, right, when you forecast on yearly long term forecasting, or like when you do the planning. I mean, now every organization is identifying that how many position can be identified like an FT or gig or contractor, or kind of pressure. So once you have that acceptance from the organization, to take gig, or maybe the clients are okay to have gig instead of FTEs. I think that metrics would definitely help you understanding the requirement better. Then you'll be able to tap onto this supply.
Dr. Shiva, actually, the clients are not much worried. It is our internal stakeholders who has to buy in first. Customer just needs your delivery.
Absolutely.
They don't bother so much. And in fact, if you get a better solution, they're very happy, saying that,
Mhm.
I'm not restricted to only this pool. I have the entire pool at my disposal, so something like that.
Yeah. How about challenges in some of the secured projects, Pushpita? So maybe it could be a bank or any of the in projects. I mean, are clients open to take gig talents, or I don't know the
What they do generally is, because these, say for example, banks, there will be big employee base. So 2,000, 3,000 people are working. So you take people from one division. They don't want to take people from outside.
Right.
Okay, so you take from one division and you deploy them in the other division. That's how within that we do. Because gig doesn't mean that everybody has to come from outside of the project or outside the customer account. It can be within also if you have a big base.
Got it. So we'll move to the next question. Sanjay Majumdar has a question. I represent a completely different industry, healthcare and hospitals, and this segment has its own set of challenges with the gig workers like GDAs, or junior nurses, or like attendees, and like any insights that you would like to share on this.
I would say execution looks very simple because it is the execution who decides how much success anybody will have in any. It's nothing to do with the gig model, any model so far, right? So he's saying this is a comment I'm just giving. It has own set of challenges. So I'm not sure what challenges hospitals face, but I think constant engagement with community is what we do at Wipro very, very proactively. It's like we make sure that even if say 20 people has bidded for a work and only 5 got selected, thus 15 we get back to them, we say that why you have not got selected. So that's how we keep the engagement happening. And we have a internal social media page where all these communication gets blasted. We have internal channels. So there is a team whose job is only to get the community engaged. So unless until you do that, gig doesn't work. That would be my two cents here.
Absolutely. And Sanjay, my input is probably you could look at the talent that where do you normally get. Now everyone wants to be freelancers, where they want to work half a day, especially like if you are a nurse, right, or probably male nurse or female nurse, or like how doctors are. They're like they're also like a geek. They are engaged in multiple hospitals. They could be like surgeons, or the pediatricians, or gynecologists, or anyone, right? I mean, they're there. So similar model would work, if you want to engage nurses, or like any of the hospital staff. Probably you could look at that as a model in which can be evolved. And I know it could be shortage of talent in getting these nurses. I know it's not that easy to get, and salaries are not very highly paid for the hospitals, and getting these nurses and also retaining them becomes very difficult. At the same time, you could look at, if you want to engage them, maybe on like half a day, or maybe maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, so that you build kind of pipeline, continuous pipeline, where like you don't find any occupancy challenges, and you don't find any of the fulfillment challenges, so that you'll be able to timely get the nurses and hospital staffs timely. Could create that pool. Thanks. So moving on to the next question. So Ram is asking another question. What is the difference between gig and freelancers?
Not really. Gig is basically any work which is short term is called a gig. So gig worker, freelancer are the same. But if you are putting the context, when you're bringing people outside from outside, that's freelancer you're bringing. So that's an external gig is same as freelancer. If you're taking context of inside, where your pool of people, maybe bench people, you have some people sitting in the bench, you are engaging them, then they won't be called freelancers. That's the difference. For internal employees, not called freelancers. External freelancers will be the same as gig. That's why I mentioned about internal gig, because they are playing the double role, as as Dr. Shiva said, that it's one doctor going and sitting in 5 hospitals. So it's like 5 roles the person is playing in different hospitals like that.
Absolutely. And Vidya has a question. So, how many projects are currently running on the gig model in Wipro?
I won't be able to answer this, Vidya, because we have some compliance laws. I won't be able to give any numbers here. Sorry.
So, Vidya, like on Fortune 500 kind of companies that Vidya works for Cognizant. So, yeah, and then nowadays, companies like Wipro, Infosys, Accenture, or like Cognizant kind of, at least I see that 20 to 25% of resources are already started to observe on gig model and identify the kind of projects and roles and skill sets, and also they're building kind of pool and
Ours is
pipeline
not
to
25%, is less than that, I would
yeah.
say. But how many projects is something I won't be able to answer. Vidya, I'm not sure if Cognizant has, I was a old timer, so I'm not sure if they have started taking platform, but if they have, great.
Not everyone started, every organization
Everyone
started.
started. Yes, because that's the thing happening.
True.
How do you decide which projects can be run on gig model or not? That depends on what kind of. It's not a SOS, by the way. Gig model is not a SOS. That my project is burning. I need the person to go and take care of that event, or that something has burnt, something has bubbled up. It's not like that. Depends on that. That's why I say, if you are doing a AMS contract where you are maintenance and support, your P1 ticket where your SLA time is 2 hours, don't go for gig, won't work. It works best where you can lift and shift the work. For example, you're designing your UI UX, you're designing a wireframe, you're doing some documentation, you're doing some testing, where you don't have lot of very short time to respond. I mean, that is where I think you have to draw the line. In a development project, definitely you can do major chunk. In a maintenance project, you have to be very careful. In fact, agile also it works, because finally that would be hurdle. People will come for 5 minutes and give the status and go. The work happens in the offline. So that will decide what can be gig or not. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Vidya, for asking questions. I think, Sunny has a question. In a typical BPO industry, gig worker is always scheduled during the peak hours, peak work. Will that not result in burnout?
That is a personal choice. What I didn't understand is, BPO industry, yes, people work 10 hours, 11 hours. We are not taking the same people to do. As I said, in the BPO industry, if there is something to be researched, it's not about taking how many tickets I'm resolving today or how many calls I'm taking. You want to do something on automation, you are looking at building a dashboard, that kind of thing. You bring people from, not from BPO, but from outside of the BPO practice or department. So that doesn't help. That helps in not having the burnout. And finally, let me tell you, this is voluntary. No one is forcing no one to come and do this work. It's people who are coming on their own interest, because number one, they'll hone their skills, they remain relevant in the market. It's like on the job learning. And second, they get the reward. So that's a personal choice, what we tell people.
Absolutely. It's up to each individual that if they want to work extra hours, right? And existing ones. And of course, new ones, will have choices. I mean, it's not a real burnout, whereas, they complete 9 hours of whatever is day hours is given. And if they wish to work beyond their hours, is up to them.
Yeah, yes, up to them. It's totally voluntary.
Right. Great, Sunny. Hope we have answered all the questions. If there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll definitely, get the answers from Shmita. And thank you so much for taking your time, all the audience, and engaging more than 13 questions, which is really loved it. And session has been truly engaging. Thank you, Pushpita, for taking your valuable time, on Thursday, besides your working, time.
So much.
Truly appreciate on behalf of GWFM. We express deepest gratitude for your valuable time, sharing your knowledge, skills and experiences and insights from Wipro and also insight from the market standpoint. This has really been very educative session. I
Thank you
myself
so
have
much.
learned a lot, and I'm sure that all our audience would have learned something great. And audience, GWFM has introduced a course on the gig. Gig is a new talent solution. Probably, we will write to you on this, and feel free to write to me anytime. If you, you will get a mail from us with the recorded session. We will definitely have this. And once again, thank you so much for taking your time to be part of the session.